Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Room of Requirement. My name is Megan, and I have over 25 years of occult and esoteric practice and study. And today I'm going to be talking about the power of non-attachment and how to find inner peace and freedom from suffering. So this is a real common Buddhist practice, and basically being attached to something, especially attached to the outcome of something, leads to a great deal of suffering. And so a form of attachment, a really common one, is attached to material things, right? So an example would be you're super attached to your car, right? Or a job or a person. So when something happens to these things and, we lose them, and it creates a lot of suffering within ourselves. It doesn't mean that you don't care and that you completely detach yourself from something and then be cold towards it. It's more of, that reminds me of the saying, if you love something, set it free. And so this is a really hard thing to do for people when it comes to family and friends, pets, things that we are that are in our lives every day, our spouse, our children, all of these things. And I'm not saying, don't be attached to them in a way that you don't care. You still can love them, but it's more of when we're super attached to these things and something happens, it can completely throw us off track. And I'm not, taking away from the experience of that pain and suffering. This goes a little bit deeper. So I'm going to hit the spiritual aspects of this, okay? And try to explain this in a way that's easy for you to understand. And, I had a lot of trouble with non-attachment, and I still have trouble with it. I mean, as long as we're in these physical bodies, we're going to have attachments. But if we can learn to mindfully practice to kind of let go of things more, surrender, and accept things for what they are, when you learn how to do that on a certain level, your suffering will be dramatically reduced. So hopefully this will help. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. So the art of letting go, practicing non-attachment on the spiritual path. Non-attachment is a fundamental concept in many spiritual traditions, offering a pathway to inner peace and freedom from suffering. By understanding and practicing non-attachment, individuals can cultivate a sense of liberation from the burdens of desire and aversion. I will explore the principles of non-attachment across various spiritual paths and esoteric teachings, providing practical insights for integrating this practice into daily life. So the more that you are aware, the more that you have a higher awareness of yourself and others in your environment, is going to really help you to be able to be less attached and be able to let go. Once you cultivate a connection or communion with the divine through introspection and spiritual practice and routine, eventually you'll learn over time the little complexities of how to do this just every day in small ways and in big ways. Okay, so I realize how hard it is and how it can create kind of this block of feeling guilty or shameful or feeling like you've let something go to the point where you don't care about it. It's like there's this fine line there where it's like, well, I can't not be attached to my spouse or my children, and then it creates this feeling of like guilt. Well, that's also attachment as well. And so hopefully this will kind of help you understand that kind of on a deeper level through different types of practices. It's not that you don't care, and it shouldn't create a sense of guilt that you don't care. This goes a little bit deeper than that. So hopefully I'm just trying to express, the main block to this, and how that works. Okay, so understanding non-attachment. Non-attachment, also known as detachment, And that's kind of iffy too. So, but I'll get more into it. So, is the practice of letting go of emotional ties to people, objects, outcomes, and experiences. It does not imply indifference or apathy, rather, it encourages a balanced state of mind where one can experience life's joys and sorrows without being overwhelmed by them. Okay, so the goal is to maintain inner peace and equanimity regardless of external circumstances. So that this is what I'm talking about. It's like you're calm in the face of whatever happens. That's really what non-attachment is. It's not that you don't feel it or you're being cold towards it or you don't care about it. It's just that when these things happen, you don't have emotional outbursts and freak out and create a higher level of suffering when things happen, because things happen in life. We lose things, we lose people. We lose parents, relationships, all of these jobs, our dreams sometimes, things don't always work out. So when we're attached to them or attached to an outcome of something that we desire, we're creating a higher level of suffering when we do that. Okay, so non-attachment in different spiritual traditions. So in Buddhism, non-attachment is central to the teaching. The Buddha identified desire as a root cause of suffering in the Four Noble Truths. The path to liberation, known as the Noble Eightfold Path, includes practices such as right understanding, right intention, and right mindfulness, all of which encourage non-attachment. Practices. Meditation. Mindfulness meditation helps practitioners observe their thoughts and feelings without attachment, fostering awareness and acceptance. Mindful living. Engaging in daily activities with full presence and awareness without clinging to outcomes. So this is all about being in the present moment as well. Being aware of how you feel about things and how you're attached to them is going to help you practice non-attachment. In Hinduism, Hindu philosophy, particularly through the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita, emphasizes non-attachment through selfless action or karma yoga. This path encourages performing one's duties without attachment to the results. Okay, so I have several videos about being in the present moment and ones that really touch on this. So you can check out some of my other videos that will really help you to understand this more well-rounded concept. So all of my videos are designed to help you on your path as you're going along. And they're all connected to each other. So that's why I cover all these different subjects, is because they're all really tied into each other, but I'm trying to give it to you in like bite-sized chunks. Okay. So practices are karma yoga, performing actions with a sense of duty and surrendering to the fruits of the actions to the divine. So you do something, act of kindness, you're actually doing it for the divine. And jnana yoga is pursuing the knowledge and wisdom to understand the transient nature of the material world. So this ties into impermanence. Nothing is permanent, so why be attached to it, right? In Christianity, non-attachment can be seen in the teachings of Jesus about living simply and prioritizing spiritual wealth over material wealth. The idea of being in the world, but not of it, aligns with non-attachment. Practices, prayer and reflection, deepening one's relationship with God and seeking spiritual fulfillment rather than material gains. Charity, acts of giving and serving others without expectation of reward. I do have a video about navigating the ego in service to others. So if you want to learn more about this, you can check that out. In Taoism, it advocates for living in harmony with the Tao, the natural order of the universe. Non-attachment is expressed through the concept of Wu Wei, or effortless action. Practices are meditation and Tai Chi, cultivating a calm and balanced state of being, allowing life to unfold naturally. Simplicity, embracing simplicity in lifestyle and in your thought processes. Sufism. Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam, focuses on the inner spiritual journey to God. Non-attachment is practiced through surrender and devotion. Practices is hikir, which is repetitive chanting or meditation in the names of God to foster spiritual connection and surrender. Fana, the annihilation of ego and the realization of unity with the divine. Esoteric teachings of non-attachment. Esoteric traditions often emphasize the transcendence of ego and the realization of a higher self or consciousness. Non-attachment is a pivotal aspect of this transformation. In Theosophy, it teaches the understanding that impermanent nature of the material world leads to spiritual awakening. Non-attachment is cultivated through study, meditation, and service. In Hermeticism, with its principles of mentalism and correspondence, encourages understanding the interconnectedness of all things. Non-attachment is achieved through mental discipline and alchemical transformation of the self. Some practical tips for practicing non-attachment. 1. Awareness. Cultivate awareness of your thoughts and emotions. Observe them without judgment or attachment. So the second you put judgment on something, you're attached to it, right? Which takes you farther away from unconditional love, which takes you farther away from divinity and your higher awareness. 2 is acceptance. Accept change as a natural part of life. Embrace impermanence and the flow of experiences. 3, letting go. Practice letting go of expectations, desires, and the need for control. Trust in the process of life. 4, mindful presence. Engage fully in the present moment without clinging to past regrets or future anxieties. 5, gratitude. Focus on gratitude for what you have rather than longing for what you lack. Observation. We must learn to observe and disentangle ourselves from our thoughts through practices such as mindful awareness, meditation, and self-inquiry. When we can simply allow life to unfold naturally without being attached to outcomes, beliefs, feelings, or opinions, then we experience true non-attachment. It is human nature to get attached to things, and most of us define ourselves by things outside of us instead of being in touch with our true selves. To understand non-attachment, we have to understand attachment. When we are attached to something, an emotional bond is formed with it. So when we practice non-attachment, we simply stop the cycle of needing something else to make us feel whole. Non-attachment is rooted in these fundamentals. Control. We stop trying to control every aspect of how life unfolds and accept that it happens without assigning emotions or judgment to it. Distraction. And this is a huge one for non-attachment. We spend so much time overanalyzing what we said at last night's professional mixer or worrying about next week's first date that we forget to live in the present moment. This one is a super killer of it. And then we will even distract ourselves from distracting ourselves, right? And so this one probably is like high on the list of why we get so attached to things, is because we're constantly distracted and we can't be in the present moment and appreciate what we have. So we're always searching for the next best thing, right? So our emotions play a huge role too. So being driven by emotions takes us on a roller coaster ride instead of resting in the smooth ebb and flow of the universe. The benefits. It's worth noting that non-attachment isn't indifference. When you are indifferent, you don't care. So when you practice non-attachment, you care very much but aren't controlled by bias, assumptions, or emotions. Why practicing non-attachment is beneficial. Practicing non-attachment benefits our mind, body, and soul. Think of it as an emotional detox of sorts. Benefits are wide-ranging, but include mental health. The things that trigger mental health challenges like anxiety and depression can dig in their claws. When you're anxious, you're worried about something that might happen. When you're depressed, you might revisit things that have already happened. When you're unattached and overtly aware, you're focused on being present in the moment. Physical health. People who can reduce the number of attachments in their lives can find the time to focus on themselves. It might mean better eating habits or a more diligent workout routine. They're also less likely to let anxiety or depression lead to heart issues or physical manifestations of emotional struggles. Confidence. Non-attachment refutes any attempt for friends, colleagues, or society to define us. We don't need to keep up with trends or look a certain way. We are simply an authentic version of ourselves. When we practice non-attachment, we don't rely on our significant other to complete us. We can find unconditional love for ourselves and our partners. Compassion. Some might think a practice of non-attachment means we have no emotions, and others might not want to approach us. In reality, not being driven by feelings or assumptions means we can better support others without judgment or escalating an emotional topic. Ways to utilize non-attachment. One, don't expect to be Buddha. Definitely not. Not in the world that we live in today. I mean, perfection doesn't exist, but it doesn't stop us from trying, right? But don't set your expectations of being Mother Teresa. You know, it's like, it's just not feasible. It's not how the world works. Two, check your clutter, right? So what do you have all around you? What's gumming up the works? What's kind of, you know, getting in the way of you being attached? So how many things do you have? What do you need? You know, this is like, you know, getting too many things, so that it's like the constant pursuit of materialism and having so many things that it's almost confusing, right? So just have what you need. That's basically what this means. Your trauma does not define you. Okay, so whatever we go through, it makes us who we are, but it doesn't define who we are. Okay, we can always go back and change things. Except there's a season for everything. So this is like divine timing. Things will happen naturally in their own time, and we can't get attached to when they're going to happen, how they're going to happen, who they're going to happen with, all of these things. 5, open your mind. So be open to everything. Don't have a limited, narrow point of view. 6, focus and don't fret. So this is like goal setting. You want to focus on your intention, set it into motion, and then don't worry about how it's going to come into play. Okay. So this is like, you know, the whole manifesting thing, right? So 7, read and reread your text messages and emails. This happened to me the other day. Somebody sent me a text message and it really pissed me off. And I was like, oh no, oh no. And I could feel like the trigger rising within me. And I was like, I'm not going to answer this right now, because at the time I was really overwhelmed. I was emotionally overwhelmed. I've been sick, so I kind of was like in overload, and I couldn't meditate or do my yoga. And so because I was like basically like bedridden, so that was like really weighing on me heavy. I couldn't like release things. And so basically what this means is, before you react, just take a step back and think, okay, and if you're too angry, just, you know, don't deal with it right away. Deal with it when you're calm, okay, instead of being explosive and maybe saying something that you regret, right? So what I did was like, okay, I'm not going to answer this right now. I am going to just wait. And it's not like, at first I was like, I'm just going to completely ignore this and do silent treatment. And that wasn't the right thing to do either, right? So basically I gave myself a day to where I got calm enough. I actually, the next day I was finally able to get up and do some yoga, which I had several somatic releases. So I knew I had a bunch of frustration and everything in my body that I needed to release. Once I did that and did my meditation for the day, I was able to calmly respond in a very nice way that didn't ruin the relationship, didn't create any conflict, and gave me peace of mind, right? So basically that's what this is. That's like an example. So 8, remove always and never from your vocabulary. Okay, so words are spells. So whatever we put out there, we're going to get back. So, you know, whatever we say, the energy, we put it out there, we're going to get it back, right? So just remove these things, because it creates suffering, okay, when you can't meet it. So 9, look at opposing viewpoints. So not everybody is going to agree with you. Not everybody is going to like you. And you cannot be attached to, you know, oh God, what are they going to think? Or what are they going to say? Or what are they going to do? And this one was super hard for me, right? Is to like not let things like this bother me. So you're always going to come into conflict with somebody at some point, right? Somebody's going to disagree with you, or they're not going to like you, and you cannot be attached to that. Do not let them live rent-free in your head, right? So that's what that saying means. Just know that everyone's different. Everyone has their own experiences. Everyone's seeing from their own perspective and their own lens with their own conditioning and programming. And so their view of you is completely different from what the truth is. And this goes for everything in your life. and everyone around you. They are sprinkled with their own experiences and trauma and triggers and all of these things. And so the way they view things is not always going to be in line with the way that you do. And that's completely fine. But the goal is to not be reactionary about it, right? And not be attached to it. And this goes back into like people pleasing and all of those things too. So like this one was a huge one for me. You know, reducing my triggers and reactions and being more mindful and aware of how things get processed in me and how they get processed in other people. And eventually, you know, when you come from a place of a calm mind, you can recognize the triggers and then go, oh gosh, I'm way too attached to this, and it's causing me mental and emotional suffering. So once you're able to do that, that's really how you start to discern and figure this stuff out. It's basically like give yourself like 7 seconds to just, when you feel that rising up, just give yourself like 7 seconds to react. And it's okay. You don't have to immediately answer something right away. You know, it took me a long time to figure that out. I noticed that when I started doing that, everything, my relationships got better. Just remove yourself from the situation until you're able to handle something a little bit better so that you're not ruining everything and causing an exorbitant amount of compounding suffering upon yourself, right? Okay. So in conclusion, practicing non-attachment is a transformative journey that can lead to profound inner freedom and peace. By exploring the diverse teachings of spiritual and esoteric traditions, individuals can find paths and practices that resonate with your personal beliefs and experiences. Through consistent practice and open-hearted exploration, non-attachment can become a guiding principle on the spiritual path, leading to a life of balance, joy, and liberation from suffering. Okay, you guys, I hope I did a good job explaining that for you. Hopefully you can start putting these things into practice. I love interacting with you guys. I love the comments and the questions. So keep them coming, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.